Hey guys, how's it going? My name's Caden and welcome to my garage. Today I'm going to be showing you guys 3 different aiming methods for pool. But first I need to start out with a couple of disclaimers and explanations. The first disclaimer, I'm not a professional pool player. I play for fun, I love pool, I have a lot of fun, I play 2 to 3 hours a day, and I might even miss a couple balls during this video. But you know what? I love pool so much, and I hope to get a few more of you guys into the game of pool, or a few of you beginners enjoying the game a little bit more, because hopefully your aim will be just that much better after this video. The second disclaimer, there is no perfect aiming system. None of these aiming systems will make you Efren Reyes, Earl Strickland, Shane Van Boning, or Ronnie O'Sullivan overnight. Frankly, aiming systems, in my opinion, are best used as a training tool. When you're a beginner and you cannot see these shots very clear, it really helps to use an aiming system. When I was a beginner, I used an aiming system too to find these shots. So now I'm just walking on shots and hit them in, for the most part. The other disclaimer is that an aiming system is only as good as the stroke of the player who is using said system. If you cannot stroke straight through in a straight line, which if you can't, that's okay. There's a lot of people who can't, and it's totally fixable. These systems will not work as well for you as they would if you had a straight stroke. Why? Well, because if I had a straight-in shot here, and I went to hit, and obviously I know where I'm aiming, it's a straight-in shot, it's pretty obvious. I go to aim, and if I twist my wrist, or I twist my cue a little bit as I come through, luckily that time it went in, but sometimes if you come through just a little bit off, you kind of push the cue ball one way or the other, and the ball won't go in the pocket. And at the end of the day, that is probably the most important thing to learn. So in the next couple of days, be on the lookout for a video where I give you a couple of stroke drills and a couple of exercises that you can use to straighten out your stroke to make these systems work just that much better and make your pool game on the road to more success. So, the first thing we have to explain before we talk about exact aiming systems is the ball potting theory. I'm going to try to make this quick, and I'm going to try to make it easy to understand. If you have any questions, please feel free to hit me in the comments below and ask. For any ball that we want to pocket, we have a line where the object ball has to go to the pocket. This is called the potting line. So, from the largest part of the pocket to the object ball, we imagine a straight line. So the straight line goes from the largest part of the pocket through the middle of the ball. Where this imaginary line intersects the very back hemisphere of the ball, that point I call the potting dot. If the cue ball hits the object ball right on the potting dot, the ball should go in the pocket. For example, on a straight shot, I aim straight at the potting dot, and this ball should go in. So with that said, the ghost ball method is taking advantage of that theory. Well, we know that if there's an object ball here, we need the cue ball to hit it right on the potting dot. And this is 2 balls exactly in line with the pocket. So if we can imagine where the cue ball needs to be on the object ball for the object ball to go in, that imaginary cue ball touching the potting dot is called the ghost ball. So, in your mind, the goal is for you to be able to imagine this cue ball here, and when you go to replace the cue ball, the object ball goes in. Now, one way that you can train the ghost ball method, because often people say, well, I understand the method, how can I train it? There's only really 2 easy ways to train the ghost ball method. The 2 ways are this. If you are by yourself, you can lay down 2 balls in line on the potting line, and you can sit right here with your cue ball, and you can hit straight through the center of this ball here, which is a physical representation of the ghost ball. Like I just did, if these are in line, the combo should combo the object ball into the pocket. This is a good way for you to just visualize on your own what this might look like, get used to these angles, and the way that these balls eclipse one another. Another thing you can do if you're with a friend is that you can get down on the shot here, and your friend, while you're down, can move the physical representation of the ghost ball out of the way, and you just aim straight down on it as such. There we go, straight in the pocket. Now, the reason that I don't like the ghost ball method, or the reason a lot of people don't like the ghost ball method, not to say it's bad, but the reason it doesn't work for me and many others, is that I have a very, very difficult time visualizing the ghost ball when there's no physical representation there. Obviously, if I have 2 balls in a row, it's really easy for me to come here and say, well, I have to replace that ball there. So I hit and it goes in the pocket. But when I take away the physical representation of the ghost ball, I have a very, very hard time visualizing exactly where that ghost ball is that I have to replace with the cue ball. I'll be off just a little bit on either side, and for me, I just have a really hard time, and a lot of others do too. If you have a difficult time with the ghost ball method, that's okay, but if it works for you, amazing. You're blessed by the pool gods, and it's probably the easiest system out there. The next system is called the edge of the ferrule aiming system, or edge of the shaft. I might call it one or the other. Just know it's going to be the ferrule and a little bit of the shaft right here. So the way that this system goes is, if we look at the potting dot here, so the parallax from the camera might not make it terribly clear, but this is a cut to the right. My right, maybe your left on the screen. So this is a cut to my right. Well, if I'm cutting a ball to the right, I will point the right side of my ferrule at the potting dot. So, cutting to the right, I'm using the right side of my ferrule pointed at the potting dot. Let's see if this works. And there we go. It didn't quite work, which shows you one of the reasons why I'm not the biggest fan of the edge of the ferrule aiming system. But we'll get into that in a moment. So, a lot of people, and I mean a lot of people, swear by this system as well, just like ghost ball. A lot of beginners and a lot of pros use this system to help find their angles. So, for any angle, they would say, well, if I'm cutting the ball to the right, I use the right side of my ferrule, I aim it at the potting dot, and the ball goes in. The reason and the main cons for this system is that everybody's shaft is different. This is a 12 millimeter shaft. My cue right here is a 13 millimeter. I have a shaft right down here that's a 12.8 millimeter. And every shaft and every ferrule is a little bit thinner and a little bit thicker than one another. So if I'm using a physical item here, which is different from cue to cue, to look at the same point as everyone else, it's going to be a little bit different, and I'm going to have to figure that out for myself. Well, at some point, I might no longer be aiming the edge of the ferrule at the potting dot, and the system is null. Frankly, I found that to be the case more often than not, and that's why I don't really enjoy it. Now, if I was on a very, 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 very steep angle here, I could actually just aim the center of my ferrule right at the potting dot. I mean, for example, if I'm on a straight shot here, and the potting dot is straight ahead of me, if I aim to the right side or the left side of my ferrule at the potting dot, I mean, that would be a crooked shot. It literally wouldn't work. If it doesn't work on straight shots, and it doesn't work on really hard cuts, I don't feel like the system particularly works that well. But like I said, I'm showing you the system because there are tons and tons of people that love it and swear by it, and there's no problem with that. If it works for you, that's amazing. So the third and final system that I'll be showing you today is called the parallel line aiming system. This is my personal favorite, although it isn't perfect like other aiming systems. I find for myself personally, in the way that I like to look at shots, it works the best for me. Why is it called the parallel line aiming system? Well, we have a potting line that goes from the biggest part of the pocket through the object ball. And if I take this exact line and I make a parallel line through the center of the cue ball, so here's my potting line, here's my parallel line. If I get the potting dot here, and then I visualize the potting dot on the front of the cue ball here, I call it the reverse potting dot, then I have 2 points. If the reverse dot and the regular dot touch each other, that object ball is going in the pocket, which goes with the potting theory. So, the reason I like it, and the way you do it, is you have one line here, and you imagine your potting dot. You take a parallel line right here for the cue ball, and you have your reverse dot. And if you touch the reverse dot to the parallel dot as such, and the reverse dot to the potting dot, sorry, as such, you find that angle. I come down center cue ball, and the ball goes straight in the pocket. I like this method because it works exactly the same no matter what angle I'm shooting. Now, of course, on a very sharp angle, you have to compensate a tiny bit for cut-induced throw, and I'll explain what that is in a later video. But for 90% of shots, I use this system exactly the same way every single time. I can even do it on a super thin shot like this, which may or may not go in right now. We'll see. We have a line here. We have a line here. And although it's a little harder to visualize, I find that it still works for me most of the time. All I do is I find the 2 dots. So I have 1 dot here, 1 dot here. If I line up the 2 dots with my vision center here, all I have to do is keep the same angle, but go down center cue ball, and I shoot, and the object ball should go in. Johnny Archer uses that method, or sorry, not Johnny Archer, his name, Nick Varner and Willie Mosconi have been quoted as saying that they use that method. Now, all 3 of these methods, as I've said, are not perfect. There is no perfect method, and frankly, if you find one that works for you, just stick with it. If there's one thing, or 2 things I can teach you from this video, it is learn to have a straight stroke first, because that's the most important thing in pool, and after you learn to have a straight stroke, if you find an aiming system that works for you, and stick to it, just stick to it. If it works for you, just keep on doing it. That is the best advice I can give you. A lot of people use aiming systems as a fix for other problems. If you have a stroke problem, you might have good aim, but you're just not hitting the cue ball straight every time, therefore you're not making the shot every time. If you have a poor setup, or poor eye lines, and poor fundamentals, these aiming systems might help you a little bit, but they'll ultimately be a band-aid for a greater issue that is actually easier to fix than coming up with a whole new aiming system. There are a lot of guys out there that switch from aiming system to aiming system every single month. And frankly, if you switch from system to system every month, you're never going to get good at one system, and your game's just not going to progress. The last thing I want to impart to you today is that aiming systems should be used as a method for practice only. When you go to play in a match against your friends and you feel the stresses of the world on your shoulders and you want to win, that is not the time for you to be lining up dots and lines and invisible ghost balls. Ideally, you should do all of that stuff on your own in practice at your pool hall, at home on your table, so that when you go to play your friends, it is more automatic for you to just walk down on the shot and hit it. For every shot, that's not going to be the case. For a really hard shot in a match, I will also use my parallel aiming system. And that is okay. And if you're a beginner and you use it for every shot, that's okay too. But at the end of the day, these are frameworks, these are references, and these are practice methods, so that eventually you've shot so many balls with this aiming system that all you have to do is walk around here and shoot it. So anyways, my name's Caden. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this video teaches you something. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, something I didn't make clear, anything like that, please, please, please feel free to comment down below. If you liked this video, please give it a like. If you disliked it, that's fine. Dislike it too, and maybe tell me why in the comments. If you enjoyed this video and you feel like you might want to see some more of my other videos, please subscribe, hit that like bell, and I'll see you next time. Thanks, guys. Peace out.